If you only had 1 minute to give music artists the best music marketing advice you could possibly give them, what would you say?
You can't get away with just putting out a music video and uploading TikTok formatted clips and expect it to take off. It might if the music video is cool, but that doesn't matter anymore. What matters more is the song going to connect with people? What's the message? And for the instrumental artists, you can still have that in your content. Do you mean to tell me you want people to pay you money to post content and be responsible enough to keep up with it? You can't even keep up with your own Instagram and Spotify or Instagram and TikTok, you know what I mean? So it's you're just adding even more pressure. Now you're playing with people's money at that point. Respond to all the comments on there. Make memes and share them in these fan groups because those get a ton of engagement. I would say be yourself for 1, 2, keep being yourself, and 3, keep being yourself. The reason being is that what makes music marketing successful now is the artistry itself. There's no hack, there's no playlist you need to be on, there's no blog you need to be featured on. You literally just have to post on TikTok and be yourself. And that is the best fucking marketing advice ever. Can I cuss on this? That is the best fucking marketing advice. I'm gonna still cuss.
Yeah, swearing is allowed. So
Okay.
awesome. That is awesome advice. Yeah, so you've done a bunch of cool things. You have a pretty big TikTok following that where you talk about music marketing. So if you've never heard of Anthony here, go check him out on TikTok. There'll be some links below, but you'll be able to find him through whatever links we put down there. You've worked with a whole bunch of artists over the years, and you talk about a whole bunch of things. But I think we'll start with, in terms of marketing strategies, when it comes between organic or free versus paid, or different types of organic methods or different types of paids, like ads, different ad platforms, where do you think someone should start if they're coming at this with a fairly new project?
Yeah, when you're coming at this with a new project, it's a little confusing. And I can totally relate to that because, to provide some context, I was a musician before I worked in the music business and did music marketing for various different artists. And when I was first starting, I just did not know what to do. All I knew is that you had to play shows, you had to do MySpace. I don't even know, something back in the day, right? So it's just super confusing. And now, you put it in a great, neat little bow. It's either organic or paid. And the thing with musicians, most of us are working on a shoestring budget, especially to start. So if you have literally zero money or less than $1,000 to put towards marketing, then probably organic is your best bet. And organic is just you posting on social media, going into the trenches on Reddit where your genre is at and talking to people, not blasting them to tell them hey, check out my music, but start getting involved in these communities, start, saucing people up and being hey, you like this artist, I like them too, and just have real conversations with people. It's networking in real life, but online. That was actually one of the biggest strategies that I did for my own music. And I was in a rock band called Dwellings that's currently signed to Tragic Hero Records. And they just put out their second Billboard charting album. The first one I was a part of. The second one I was not, because I fell in love, had kids, and now I do music marketing. And the success for that band was definitely because I did a lot of that foundational, soul searching in the beginning, as far as making sure we're defining the right marketing channels, which was organic, just interacting with people online, being really active in Facebook groups, Reddit, Discord, etc., and just talking to relevant fans that we wanted to reach. So again, I would say start with organic, and then once you get the hang of it and you're actually committed to putting music out frequently, because there's no point in dropping thousands of dollars on paid media if you're just going to drop one song, find out music isn't for you, and then you're X amount of dollars in debt or whatever. So yeah, just start with organic. That's literally the easiest thing you can do and the best thing you can do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and probably specifically for people who watch my channel, because I talk a lot about ads, and I don't always remind people enough that organic's a thing that you should also do. It's not that ads replace your organic. In fact, my general recommendation would probably be, when you're new, assuming you have time, you should start the organic route first so you can actually figure out the content that works best, because your ads are just content that's being pushed out to more people. And so if you're your content sucks, chances are your ads suck. um, and also, it kind of gives you some time to put out music, see what people are saying, interact with fans in like a smaller level, and then get into the ads. But some people see the ads as a replacement where, oh, I don't have time to do all this stuff. I can just do ads. And I think there's something to be said for like the ads can replace like you whoring yourself out on social media like 3 times a day. So maybe you're posting a few times a week and you're doing ads. But I think you're missing out on a huge bunch of like no one's going to follow you if you don't put out any content, and your ads are going to suck if you don't put out content. So is that your perspective as well on the whole organic slash ads combo?
Yeah, my perspective on the whole ads versus organic thing is that they definitely work together. You can have one but not the other when it comes to organic. Like you can have organic but not paid, but I don't think you can have paid and not organic. And the reason why is because for one, you're investing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to drive thousands of people to your Instagram. You mean to tell me you're not going to post anything? Like, and I've rejected clients because of that. They're like, yo, I don't have time to post, so I just want the ads to do all the growth for me. And it's like, dude, we're sending thousands of people over to your Instagram, whether they're converting through like a reel or a story to go to Spotify, but they might follow you. There's still that chance, and we hope that they would follow you. That it's kind of like a two-pronged approach, right? You're growing the DSP side and you're also growing the socials. But if you're driving so many people to your channel, Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, if you're advertising on those platforms, why are you not going to pay attention to your organic content strategy? And you said it best, like if your ads aren't performing well, it's because your organic content isn't doing well. And I forgot what Gary Vee referred to it as. I think it's like brandification or TikTokification of like all the social platforms out there. And I'm glad that someone in like the regular marketing space is kind of putting a name to this. I obviously can't remember it, but I'll try to look for it once Andrew starts talking again. But essentially, I've explained this to clients since like the dawn of time when I first started doing music marketing since 2020. And essentially, organic social is like where you can do your split testing and your A/B testing for free, right? So if you post 30 different content pieces and people are going to like raise their eyebrows like, what the fuck, 30? That's nothing. 30 content pieces over the span of a month or half a month, whatever. Take the 5 best performing ones that did well organically. I guarantee you those will convert better than anything else that you're going to try to do just testing out via paid. For one, it's going to save you money, and two, you're also getting in the zone and the habit of posting consistently on organic. So, and I still think organic takes you way farther than paid media anyway. And that's not to, talk down on what Andrew and I do for a living, because that's how we make our living, talking about ads and whatnot. But I just think there's such like an importance to organic content. Like it, yeah. There's nothing else I can say towards that.
Right. And the whole idea about using your social channels as a way to test ads is very real. In fact, I don't know for a fact, but I can think of like the top probably 5 people that have the best performance in ads that I do consultations with. That's how they test their ads. They're just reels or TikToks that performed well that they picked from the litter and added to an ad campaign. And I don't know if it's actually the top 5, but I can think of specifically 3 people who are consistently the best, have the best performing ads of anyone I've talked to, and that's how they pick their ads. And I interviewed one of them, Tia Tia and Ryan McMahon. So if I remember, I'll put a little thing there you can click on to watch that interview. But like they have a whole bunch of campaigns doing like sub 15 cents per conversion in tier 1, tier 2 countries, which is like awesome. Like they have an 8 cent to conversion campaign that's been running for like a year. And it's just like a well-performing reel. And that's all it was. It was just a stupid social media post of the artist hanging out the back of a car, lip syncing the song with the sunset behind them. They probably filmed it in less than 30 seconds.
Jeez.
And most of their ads are like that. They like every time I show it to someone, they're like, that ad does good. They're like, it just looks like a random social media post. I'm like, that's kind of the point. It's supposed to look like a random social media post because it is.
No, yeah. Like I read the study like Gen Z, which I want to say is kind of like who you should be marketing towards. Like if you're a singer songwriter, rapper, rock artist, pretty much most genres appeal to Gen Z and they're kind of like the future anyway. So like you should be paying attention to what they like. But I read this study to where they value authenticity more than anything and being real
Yeah.
and things looking and feeling organic. Like I think Snapchat, was big for me. And I graduated high school in 2015. I think I found out now that I'm part of Gen Z. I always thought I was a millennial. I was born in 1997, so this like blew my mind because I've been called a millennial many a times. But
You must be like the first, like one of the like first year or two. You're one of the oldest Gen Zers probably.
yeah, and that's fucking dope. Like, cause I'm in that like awkward stage to where I'm like, yeah, fuck what the kids are doing, but then I'm also like, yeah, I know what the cool kids are doing at the same time. That might change eventually, but um, God only knows. But I just saw that they value that so much, and I think I started to notice that subconsciously in high school when like Snapchat was a thing, and we were posting these 5-10 second clips that were just like in the moment type of things, or even like with Vine, RIP, like it was just like a bunch of in the moment stuff, which that kind of falls in with the whole authenticity thing. It's just you being your authentic
Yeah.
self, posting short form content or posting smaller clips on there, and it's translating to the music industry now. Damon Keys and a bunch of other, marketing gurus are saying the music video is now dead. It died back in 2019. Like you're just now realizing that, guys. Like, no, it's been dead for a while.
Yeah.
Like short form content, live content, UGC, like even with major brands, like they understand like that's it. Like that's the key here. You can't get away with just putting out a music video and uploading like, TikTok formatted clips and expect it to take off. It might if the music video is like
Yeah.
cool, but that doesn't matter anymore. What matters more is the song going to connect with people? What's the message? And for the instrumental artists, you can still have that in your content. Like literally, I work with a pop punk band. This is an instrumental, but literally their best performing ad that I've been running, and I posted about this a couple weeks back on my TikTok, was literally the vocalist being like, "This is the best riff I've ever written," and then he starts just playing the riff, and it's an instrumental part of the song, and that's a great top of funnel strategy to get people over to the DSP side, and then eventually retarget them for like merch and things like that. So again, organic
Mm.
content, like you just can't ignore it. Like that's the key to
Yeah.
success nowadays.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it does take a lot of time. Although there's definitely ways to make it faster. And the ways that I've said
Yes, yes, yes.
that are one was recommended from All About Helping. I don't know if you've ever seen his stuff,
Yeah.
but I interviewed him, and his recommendation was the whole 30 to 50 pieces of social media content per song, like all of us have kind of been saying for a while. But his kind of strategy is have the artist go to a couple cool spots, like maybe an abandoned warehouse, the top of a mountain, at the beach, like whatever three parts make sense for the song and the brand and whatever. Have the artist perform the song, just kind of like a ghetto music video. Have someone film them on a phone, cut it up into like 3 to 5 chunks, come up with a bunch of different hooks that you could put on the song, and then with all those combinations, you end up with like 4 parts per song, three areas, 12 posts, and then you have multiple hooks. So you could reuse posts and just use different hooks or cut them up in different ways, and you could pretty quickly doing that end up with 30 posts. Never mind if you're naturally filming stuff, like when you're recording or when you're in the studio or something, you just film some clips and then now you have like a dozen other clips. But what are some strategies you use to help people with creating content that's genuine and doesn't suck?
Yeah, that is the big one, which I'm glad it's not just me that's encouraging artists to do this. So, part of what we do at Simple, we run ads for artists, but we also do organic content consulting. And the easiest way, because again, artists hate social media. Like I get it, it blows. You just want to play music, and you know that's it. But you can't ignore social. So kind of like the middle ground I've found with artists is I just tell them like, yo, like, if we're on FaceTime or on a Zoom call, I just tell them like prop up your iPhone on like your drawer, And then they're like, what? Like, I thought we were talking about like TikTok. Like, why are you making me do this? And I tell them, just do it real quick. So then they do that. And then I tell them back away from the camera. And then they're just standing in the middle of the room and they're like, okay, like, what am I doing now? I'm like, you're a TikToker now. Like that's all it takes. You know, you could buy a tripod eventually, but whatever. That's all you have to do. What I need you to do next, once we get off this call, I'm going to hang up now. Just keep this same frame, play your song on a speaker or whatever, and just lip sync to it. If you're an instrumental artist, because that's always a big ass excuse I get, I'm instrumental, I don't sing. Just pull out the guitar, pull out the keyboard, pull out the MacBook if you're a DJ, like that's funny, whatever, and just perform. Perform your full song, whether it's a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, perform your full song. And then, like you said, you know, cut it up into 15, 30-second parts and just play with the hook. That's all you have to do. Bam. Infinite content right there. All you have to do is just think of text on screen, which in addition to Simple, I co-founded a bootstrapped startup called Leveler, which is more focused on TikTok and short form content creation. We literally have ChatGPT installed on the app, pre-programmed with really successful hooks that we've seen from artists, over 500 different artists, over 5,000 different successful posts. We have it pre-programmed or trained to understand what hooks work best. And you literally tell this AI bot, like, hey, my song is about depression. I wrote it at the lowest point of my life, whatever. And it'll give you different ideas for hooks like that. And that helps artists put out content that, one, does not suck, and to understand content that has been successful on the platform, because we also show you what artists in your niche and genre are doing that have been proven to be successful as well. So it's not hard. Artists just don't know, which is fine. But when they don't know and they're just rejecting everything as soon as you start to bring it up, because that happens all the time for me on consults, and I'm sure it happens to you too. Like when you start talking about organic, they're like, nah, I don't do that. Or like, no, I don't want to post. I don't have time. I have work. You have time to, you know, go out to eat with your friends. You have time to smoke weed. You have time to go down to Guitar Center and play Smoke on the Water. You have time to create content. It's not hard. You just got to make the time.
Totally. Yeah. And a lot of people ask me, and this is not like a weird flex or anything, but it might sound like it. Like, Andrew, how do you have so much time where you get all this stuff done? Like, you have this YouTube channel, you're posting social media, you're doing this, you have like your own music stuff. And the answer is zero social life. Like, the answer is I sacrifice a whole lot of shit to do the stuff I want to do. And that's an unfortunate reality of being a music artist. If you have a full-time job or family or whatever, you're very likely going to have to make some sacrifices in your life, whether that's something as small as, oh, you play an hour of video games a day, maybe you only play a half an hour a day, or maybe you only play 1 hour 3 nights a week, and then the other 4 nights a week you just gave yourself 4 hours a week to create content, which that's more than enough to have daily content. Like, you I don't think you need 4 hours a week to have daily content. I think with 2 hours a week, you could pull off having post every single day of the week.
No, yeah,
So
100%. And there's a lot of
I
tools
think
that help
most
you
people,
automate it too, or not even just automate the whole thing, but help you get ideas.
yeah, like you like your software platform, which you won't be able to see it on this episode now, but I did. You gave me a demo last time. It's very cool. So everyone go definitely check that out. And there's a free version of it too, where anyone can go and get some recommendations, right? Like, I think, right?
Yeah,
Well, I'll let
correct.
you explain
So
it.
yeah, Leveler again is a app to where it's more TikTok focused. So you can analyze your profile and kind of find some quick wins. So it lets you know like, hey, these hashtags work. Hey, these hashtags are not working. And it also works for getting inspired. So the biggest thing, and the reason this app came to fruition was because I've done so many one-on-one consults with artists to where the common questions about TikTok are just, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know how to get started. And I got started, but I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing or what to do next. So this app answers all those questions, and it kind of shows you what artists in general on TikTok are doing that's been successful. So we pull in posts weekly to kind of show you like, hey, these posts did over like 10K views. It, you know, put your own spin on it, get inspired from it, whatever. And The app is mainly free. The only thing you have to pay for is to add more artists to your dashboard or to track UGCs for a TikTok sound. So let's say you post a video and your TikTok sound starts to go viral. If you wanted to keep track of like how many creates it's getting per day or how many videos it's getting per day, that's a paid feature. But for the regular artist that's just trying to figure out TikTok, it's completely free for you, and it's on purpose because why pay for more shit that
Yeah.
we already pay for so much. So yeah, there's
But
that app.
I think using Leveler paired with a scheduler, like
Mhm.
I use later.com, but there's like a million options out there. Like that will save people a lot of time every week in this content thing. So like
No, yeah.
it doesn't sound like a lot from the get-go, but scheduling 7 days of content, not just across TikTok, but Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, YouTube, Twitter, like whatever you're doing, it adds up. And so that's why I use a scheduler for
No,
that
yeah.
reason.
I refrain from using schedulers just because like, well, again, I'm not an artist anymore, so for me it's like mainly everything kind of has to be in real time. Like if I had scheduled things but then something happens, like we talked before we hit record, like Spotify's fans also like section getting fucked up or whatever recently, like that that's something that I have to work on by end of day today because it's such like a priority. So I wasn't able to schedule that. So I just need to create the content. But for artists, I mean, just going back to the example we said earlier, or that All About Helping said too, like if every weekend you go to like a new location and just film yourself lip singing your song, or again, if you're an instrumental artist or DJ, just bring the damn thing that you play with you and just perform. That's a 3-minute video you'll have. Chop it up into 5, 7 different segments with a new hook for each. Use Leveler to come up with different hooks each and every single time. Schedule them through later, and you'll never run out of content ideas. It's literally that easy.
Earlier, you were talking a little bit about hanging out on Reddit and other communities and stuff to uh, which I've heard people refer to, like Jesse Cannon, for example, has called this like community marketing or or something. Finding your micro niche or whatever words he uses. But a lot of people have asked questions on that. How does this actually work in practice? Like, how do you go online and interact in communities and actually get anything useful out of it without being spammy? And
Mm-hmm.
you specifically mentioned that, like, don't go and just spam your stuff. So let's say someone is a, I always use the generic pop or generic hip hop artist, but let's just say someone's in a hard rock band. They make music that sounds like Nickelback.
Do you want to use a
uh,
hypothetical, or do you want a concrete like strategy that I used for my own rock band that got signed and charted a Billboard?
let's do that actually. Yeah, because your band's a hard rock band, and I've
Mhm.
used a lot of pop and hip hop. So yeah,
Cool.
let's talk about you.
Awesome. I love doing that. So I don't. But so again, to provide context, I was in a rock band called Dwellings, and in my hometown, there are no venues. So again, the I guess the success story of every artist is like, oh, they became the hometown heroes or they hit the road and they were successful. How the hell was I supposed to do that with no venues? Like the nearest venue was like 3 hours away. Like that was just not sustainable playing shows, whatever. So what I did, we sounded like, or we appealed to fans of Dance Gavin Dance, Hail the Sun. It's a subgenre of rock music called, or post-hardcore music called swancore. If you know what that is, I'm sorry. And there were a lot of fan groups, like fan created Facebook groups, fan created Reddit threads for the genre and for the artists that are within that genre. So what I did, I'm a fan of the music, right? So I was already a part of these groups anyway, but I just wasn't that active. And this group, fuck, there's like a whole history of this group and just how problematic they eventually became. Hopefully your genre or community of artists that you like are not problematic, because
Are you talking
yeah,
about Dance Gavin Dance or your
yeah,
band?
Dance Gavin Dance, not my
That's
band. Like are
okay.
you familiar with them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've never been a huge fan, but there's some songs that I've listened to for years.
Cool. Yeah. It was mainly the singer has that like anyway. Um, the
Okay,
fan
so
base,
there's some controversial shit going on with
yeah,
them. Got
now,
it.
but not at the time when I was, trying to promote my music. So essentially, I was already part of these groups, and I just didn't really know how to use them to my advantage to promote my music. So what I started to do was just become very involved with these groups, and what I mean by that is just talking to people. Like you're not an artist when you're doing this, like whatever Jessica Cannon referred to it as, like community marketing or whatever. You are them. You are a fan. You are just another fan in this group, and that's a very bold statement because the goal is to, get them to check out your music. But the way to do that is by relating to them, like building genuine friendships. And it's a long process. Like this is probably not sustainable to do. Like this is probably something I would recommend people to do if they have time. I had a fuck ton of time fresh out of high school figuring my life out. So I had no problem in doing this. I was very active in these groups, commenting on as many things as possible. Like typically what you see in a fan group is like, OMG, this artist, he has a new guitar rig or whatever, or oh, they're playing in XYZ city. I wish I could go see them. Or here's 5 of their albums. How would you rank them from, 5 to 1, best to worst or whatever? Respond to all of them. Respond to all the comments on there. Make memes and share them in these fan groups because those get a ton of engagement. I made so many Dance Gam and Dance memes. I wish I still had access to my old Facebook profile to like compile everything that I did because man, I was super active in these groups, and I think Dance Gam and Dance and Swan posting for the success of my previous band because I was fucking active and I was adding everybody. Like literally, I would just sit there. I would go through the members, add everybody. Because when you have a ginormous friends list on Facebook and you post in the group, they get notified. Or if you comment on something, they get notified. So from my perspective, I was like, okay, I'm getting a ton of eyeballs. I'm getting a lot of impressions from these people because I'm so active in the group and I'm adding a lot of people that then my personal Facebook, every time I would post about my band, these same people that I'm talking to in the group, not about my band, are then checking out my band. Like, oh shit, this guy was just talking to me like a normal person, or like we were just gawking over Dance Gam and Dance, and I didn't know he's in a band. Oh shit, this band is obviously influenced by Dance Gam and Dance. We actually were not, but whatever, we fit into that genre. And they were like, whoa, like this human spoke to me. Like he didn't shove his music down my throat. I'm going to support him because he's a cool guy. Like that's literally all it is. Just make friends online. Like it takes a long time. Fuck, it took so much time. It's not an overnight thing. I want to say when we first released our first 2 songs, Lemonade and Foreverist, which I think are the 2 most, no, they're not the 2 most streamed last time I checked. I don't know, but they were like the 2 unsigned songs that we put out together. And I think it took a long ass time to get to our first 1,000 followers on Spotify. I need to check the timeline on like Chartmetric or something, but that chart that you see go from like 100 followers like slowly going up and then it just spikes, was just me building up that foundation in these groups, talking to people, and then me figuring out Facebook ads manager and being able to retarget people and make my own funnels and whatnot. But that strategy of like being involved with these groups takes a long time, but it's worth it in my opinion if you have the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, now if you have the time, is it worth it more to create content for TikTok, or is it worth more talking to people endlessly online? At least with TikTok, you can see like, X amount of posts in, X amount of Spotify followers out, or whatever. It's going to be kind of hard to measure that with, interacting with people on Facebook, Reddit, etc. But it's that much more impactful. Like 10 fans gained from here might hold more weight than 10 fans from here. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Right.
I don't have the time to test those 2 things out, but if anyone is interested in doing that and letting me know what you find, I'm all for it.
Probably depends on the artist and the genre, and because I feel like there's probably a lot of opportunities when you're in a genre or you're an artist that would align very well with like a cult community. You know, like certain like a lot of rock and metal stuff is kind of more culty than like pop, hip hop, EDM. I found like I've noticed everything I've ever promoted in metal, the follow rate is much higher than pop, hip hop, EDM. And I think it's because pop and hip hop and EDM people are used to getting music shoved in their face all the time. So like, why follow any artist? There's infinite music. But when you find like a good metal band that you like, it's like, oh, there's like 10 bands in the world that do what I like. So you follow every single one of them. Like if you like Tesseract, when you find Sky Harbor, you're like, oh my god, I have to follow these guys. And I wonder for those more mainstream ones where maybe the genre communities are less advantageous, or maybe they're just so broad. That's when it makes sense to go into like micro, uh, like music adjacent communities, or like let's
Mhm.
say your branding is very like anime esque. You're just hanging out and chatting with people who, I don't know. Like I feel like there's other opportunities in that. I've heard of some people get good results by interacting like Minecraft communities for whatever
Mhm.
reason, because the artist was like huge into Minecraft, and they're like their artwork and the music style was like this instrumental style stuff where they did good results like trying to interact with those kinds of people. Um,
No, yeah. I
but
think there was like a Fortnite strategy at some point to where like you would send on TikTok in particular, you would send like your music to these big Fortnite channels, like compilation channels, and they would put your music behind it. And because Fortnite fans,
yeah,
like, you know, I don't know much about them, so I can't really comment. My brother used to play Fortnite, so that's all I can say. Um, they really liked whatever songs were on these compilation videos, and they would really drive streaming. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird, but
yeah,
like you were saying, yeah, I think it definitely depends on the genre because swancore or post-hardcore or rock or metal is just a drop in the bucket compared to all these other bigger genres. And yeah, I've noticed the same thing too. Follow rates for non niche genres or rock slash alternative or whatever is significantly lower in comparison to that. So yeah.
mm. So let's see. We've talked about multiple types of organic, but we haven't talked about ads yet, which is funny because we both talk a lot about ads. Well, we've talked a little bit about ads, but we haven't
Mhm.
talked about various things that we can do with ads. So let's talk about the types of ad campaigns that you found to be most beneficial for most artists.
Yeah, it all starts with organic. Truthfully, like that's like my biggest takeaway from, in the last year that, before a lot of the ads that we were running were just like cut downs of music videos or cut downs of like, live montages or tour diaries or with like the music slapped over it. What I found in the last year and a half is that whatever organic content is working, just repurpose that for ads, but also really playing around with like the text on screen hooks or even just straight out, calling out, artists that you're targeting, which this band that I'm working with that's signed to, what are they signed to? They're signed to a big rock label. They're called The Funeral Portrait. The name is on the tip of my tongue. The label. I hope the label doesn't see this, but they find success in like TikTok content that's like Motionless in White, My Chemical Romance, and Ghost. If you like those three bands, you'll like us, and then it goes to like the music video. Like that content has worked well with ads as well. So literally, the types of campaigns is still like the tried and true conversions. Like you can't not do conversion campaigns like fuck link click campaigns, and
Yeah,
pretty much everyone who's watching this already knows that, I would assume. If you don't, just check out Andrew's content or my content to get started with that. But yeah, that's like my biggest takeaway and like my secret sauce right now is just really getting artists that are willing to post on organic social and go through the trial and error side of things on there, and then take that successful content and put it through ads. If they are not active on organic social, I kind of force them to. And if not for their own organic content marketing efforts, at least for the ads. So I just tell them, yo, like, tell me what your song is about. I'll create some hooks. I don't care. And that I think has added another competitive advantage to our services offering because, you know, you have an agency, I have an agency, we run ads. But one
yeah,
thing that I'm doing rather than like charging less or charging more, because B2B is always, a race to the bottom, who can charge less. And it happens with musicians, like fuck, like with
yeah,
everything, graphic design, producers, whatever. But for me, it's like instead of reinventing the wheel or trying to change their pricing or whatever, like let's just add more to our offering. If an artist comes to us and they just have a music video and that just isn't going to cut it because we know that, based off of our findings in the last, year plus, let's coach them on TikTok content. Like we have the resources to do that at scale with apps like Leveler now. We have a
Hmm.
way to just pull content references based off a genre pretty quickly. So let's just roll with that. And again, just instead of reinventing the wheel, we're just adding more to our service offering. Like we run ads, but we also kind of coach you or show you what exactly it is that you need to do on the organic side. If you're smart, you'll do it on the organic side, but the purpose of it is for you to give us more content to use to A/B test on ads. So that's my biggest strategy and what I've seen work best. Nothing else has really changed. I mean, we don't have to do the custom domain thing anymore, thank God. I
Yeah.
know eventually cookies are going to go away, so I don't know what that's going to look like in 2024 with like Google Chrome doing all this like cookieless future stuff, but I'm optimistic because again, most of the artists we work with are open to organic content strategies, and it's just so important. If you haven't, this podcast is just going to be called organic content, like literally, like that's all I've been talking
Yeah.
about, but it's just that important. And
Yeah.
this is coming from an ads guy. This is coming from an music paid ads agency owner. Like how important
Yeah.
organic is. It's crazy.
Yeah. 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 I mean, we're two people who always talk about ads who are gushing about organic. Now, in terms of the specific objectives of the campaigns, what kind of campaigns have you found? So obviously conversions, everything. So that kind of covers the whole Spotify thing. But um, how much have you done in terms of like lead generation, merch campaigns, tour promotion campaigns, and what have you found worked good or didn't work good for those types of campaigns?
Yeah. So on my team, collectively, we've worked with a variety of different artists, um, signed to various different labels, unsigned as well. And the general consensus is that for merch specific ads, like the carousel type of post with like the shirt, like the spreads, the different vinyl variants, whatever, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those tend to work better than like music video clips with like the merch overlaid. Like that was what worked for me personally, like whenever I would run merch ads for clients, but I'm starting to see the carousels kind of come back. Um, I think in 2020 and 2021, what I saw working very well was like those instant pages that are generated through like Meta or
Mhm.
whatever. Like, you just got to hook up
Yeah.
your Shopify catalog and you can, do those because like the load time is just like instant. I have not tested those as of recent, so I can't really speak to that. But what we have been finding success in for merch campaigns is just like those spreads via like carousels. And
Mhm.
for touring and selling tickets, just more interest based. So there's two main like show type of campaigns that we're running, which oddly enough you said that you were running some, I believe. um
Yeah.
the biggest one that we're doing right now is this festival or like this rave called Anime Rave. And Andrew and I were talking about this the other day, to where it's like insert niche name rave, so like Barbie Rave, that there's a Dragon Ball Z orchestra in Canada. Like I found out, like what you know what I mean? So it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all just like, you target people that are interested in anime and narrow it by EDM. Boom. Like you'll make money. So just and that even translates into music too. Like if it's, you know, we worked with this hyperpop artist called Toyco back in 2020 and 2021, and a lot of their creatives was like this cyberpunk, anime art style type of creatives with like rain and whatnot. And we were just targeting people that were like fans of anime and are by EDM music, like the same for like the Anime Rave, and
Yeah.
that converted very well. So just any type of non-music related or just non-music specific targetings that you can do are always great. Um, but yeah, I mean, like for merch, that pretty much covers it. And touring packages, we create mini funnels for tour packages as well. So like kind of the same concept of like just targeting the tier one countries or whatever to drive streaming, but do that for the areas that you're going to tour in. So if you're from the US, if you're going to tour on like the West Coast or the East Coast, like focus your ad spend on those states for just like top of funnel, like go to Spotify or whatever, and then re-engage with those people, and be like, yo, we're going on tour, like we might be coming to a city near you. I'm too lazy to go in and type in like specific like California, we're coming soon, or Vegas, we're coming. I just target everybody and do that
I had
because it
a
saves
tour I
money.
was working on where the artist was doing a 50, it was a 50 date US tour,
Hmm.
and they wanted my help running the ads for it. So we literally had 50 different campaigns, one for each date. Each campaign had two ad sets, one for retargeting, one for cold targeting, with like the budget allocated differently for each one. And every single ad had customized text for the specific city, time, and venue name. So you can imagine how much work that was, building all that and then optimizing it, because every campaign did differently. Like some the retargeting was great, some of the retargeting sucked, and then like every ad set had like 3 or 4 ad creatives or something too. So freaking nightmare. So
No,
when
yeah.
Anthony says it's a lot of work and he's too lazy to do it, it's a lot of work, and you don't
No.
necessarily have to do it, but it can be helpful to be able to say like, you know, we're coming to San Francisco on August 27th at 7 p.m. at this venue that you know and love, kind of thing. You know, it's having that specificity, I think, gets people's attention. If they're like, oh, that's where I'm from, you know, that makes the ad feel less generic in that way, but also probably not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends. Because yeah, for example, for the We Touch Grass anime rave, we're doing exactly what you said, but with like 10 or 12 different creatives. Um, it's fucking nuts. But the thing with that one is that they have a lot of like social proof type of content for the raves. So like, um, they have videos of like recaps from like shows in Toronto and just people going crazy, or
Mm.
like, here's this like Demon Slayer, like when the DJ starts playing Demon Slayer, like organic content that we're using as
Yeah.
ads to really optimize the cost per ticket sale. And that it's so profitable. It's nuts. Like the ROAS is crazy. Return on ad spend is crazy. So it's worth it. It's very labor intensive, but that's why we get hired to do this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not the one, having to change the text and all that shit. Someone else does on my team. So I mean, whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen other people, what they do is the artist for every single date they film separate video ads for it, for the retargeting portion at least. So they'll sit down to get the whole band and they'll say like, hey Orlando, it's so and so and we're coming to you on this date. So they're like talking to their audience, and then they film it for every single venue they're stopping at,
Oh, yeah.
and sometimes multiple copies of each. But then we only use those for the retargeting, but then for the cold targeting, we're using usually organic type content, whether it was actually posted organic or it just feels organic, like live footage, performance footage, home studio lip syncs, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it can definitely be profitable. Of
No, yeah.
course, it depends on how much traction the artist has. Like if you're a new artist with no audience and you're playing a venue that has like 150 people, 150 capacity or something, like it's hard convincing people who don't care about you to come. You can do it, but it's if you have no retargeting, it's I think it's harder.
No, yeah, 100%. Couldn't have said it better, to be honest.
Cool, cool. For the merch thing, have you done any free plus shipping and handling stuff?
That's the one thing I have not had the opportunity to do. Most of the artists we work with on like the e-com side are signed to record labels, to where,
Yeah,
you don't see record labels doing those free plus shipping and handling funnels, unfortunately. And I think they're genius in the fact of like getting more conversions that way, if even if they take a hit on the profit margin. But you know,
yeah,
record labels, and not unfortunately, I mean, with good reason, they are very concerned with numbers, so that, the cost of like the ad spend and our time and labor, it's obviously being
yeah,
recouped by the artists, just so it's not unfair. But No, I've actually not. I understand it. Outside of music, I have ran those campaigns in the past for like, books and just
Mm.
products, but it's been a long time since I've ran campaigns like that. I'm talking like 2019, 2018 when I worked at like act at a marketing agency for real businesses.
Yeah, so you've done campaigns for like books and products, I'm guessing courses and all that stuff too.
Yeah, across the board. I used to work at a marketing agency here in my local town that, again, did it for like various different services based businesses, e-commerce companies, and things like that. So I have a pretty well rounded palette of like different campaigns I've ran in the past. So, yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I get a decent amount of questions from different types of people that like, oh, I'm a music producer and I want to sell beats, or I'm a my day job is I have this business where I sell this product. And like, how do I advertise it? And for the most part, it's really the same. Like you're running a purchase conversion campaign and running ads on it. The only difference is, in many ways, it's actually easier because your product actually has value. Whereas like music is basically like if you don't like a song, that music and all of the products around it are literally worthless. Like you could not pay me to go to certain artists' concerts, right? Like
Hmm.
you could give me free tickets to almost any country artist and say I'll give you a signed vinyl and a T-shirt, and I'd be like, I don't really wanna,
Right.
But there's people who would pay $1,000 for that, right? And that's the tricky thing with music is that like everything you're doing is like inherently worthless until people love it, and then it's worth as much as anyone's willing to pay for it. And there's like almost no other thing in the world for advertising that's like that. Every other product
Right.
you're selling, like a sample pack, a beat, a course, a product, a widget, it's like it has value inherently, whether you like the person who created it or not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that there was this really good article um, a while back. I forgot who wrote it, but it was like the value of a Spotify follower or something. Like they did the math. There was like each fan is like worth $1 or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing out numbers out there, but maybe I'll find the
Mm.
article and I'll send it to you after. But it was just interesting how they put like, let's say you get 1,000 fans and your conversion rate is like 2% or whatever, or 3%. And if those, spend X amount of dollars, like now you know how many fans you need to make like a living off of it, which, you know, Ari, from like Ari's take has like a bunch of examples of like artists crushing it through like paid subscriptions and like Patreon and stuff. But it's just really
Yeah.
hard to really get people to invest in you as an artist, I've found, especially when you're starting out. So I'm kind of weary about like those success stories that you see, and then you go on their Instagram and they have like 1,000 followers or 3,000 followers, and it's like they're making minimum wage off of Patreon subscriptions, and it's like it not just anyone can do that, unfortunately. Like you really need to
Yeah.
stand out and be like likable and have content. And the issue with that I have too is like artists aren't even posting on their own fucking TikTok or Instagram channels. You mean to tell me you want people to pay you money to post content and be responsible enough to keep up with it? Like you can't even keep up with your own
Yeah.
Instagram and Spotify or Instagram and TikTok. You know what I mean? So it's like you're just adding even more pressure. Now you're playing with people's money at that point. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird one in my perspective, but yeah, I mean, music is weird to where, like you said, there's just no real value like right there. But the way I always phrase it to people is like, the followers, or it's like a compounding effect, like eventually they'll be worth something, even if they give you
Yeah.
100 streams, it's like a couple pennies, you know what I mean? I think, I don't know, but I don't know the math
Yeah,
on
it's like
that.
it's like a third of a penny a stream or something. So 100 streams is 33 cents, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
30,
mean,
33-ish cents, depending on the countries. If they all come from like the Philippines or India, they're like that's like 10 cents for 100 streams. If they come from America, they're like 42 cents a stream or something, or for 100 streams or whatever.
right.
But
Yeah. I don't know. We got to hit
I
up.
do know some people have gotten amazing results with this membership communities, but you're right where I don't think it's necessarily for everyone. Like the people who've done great have done great because they came up with some unique offering that made them stand out. Like one artist, and if you end up watching this video, artist, feel free to comment below and call yourself out about this. But because I forget your name, otherwise I would call you out. But they're like an artist where one of the people is an artist, the other one is a graphic designer, novelist kind of person. And so one person makes all the music, the other person makes like a comic book for every song. So every month they release one song for free on Spotify with a free publicly available comic book or graphic novel. I forget what it was. And then also every month they release one Patreon exclusive song with a Patreon exclusive comic book. So it's like every
Interesting.
song they release publicly, it's like if you love this, like you can join our Patreon and you'll get twice as much music, twice as many comic books. Very unique situation that most artists could not do. Another person is more of a producer, and they make all of their Ableton Live sessions, etc., and like stems and stuff like that, and unreleased music all available online, as well as sample packs from songs. So they've kind of been able to pull in some of their more like music producery fans into their Patreon. And then another guy I know makes like 30 grand a month on Patreon, but his is more because he's a YouTube creator. It is a
Right.
music one, but it's like YouTuber meets YouTube or music creator. So I don't really count him. But those other two
Got it.
people make over, again, not making a good living off of this, but their patrons alone bring between $2,000 to $3,000 a month for each person. So you pair that with the Spotify and the YouTube and all that other jazz, and they make a living off their music.
No, yeah, 100%. I think my whole thing with the Patreon thing is like most artists are like precious about their music, so then they kind of get in their head to where like, why am I only gonna like release this to a select group of people that are paying me? You know what I mean? Or like, I can only afford to record 5 songs a year. Like, you mean to tell me like half of my songs are gonna be like kept in a vault and the other half are only gonna be available to the public?
Yeah.
And if those are the types of questions you're asking yourself, then Patreon is not for you. I'm sorry for Patreon artists. Also, I don't mean this in a disrespect, but Patreon artists are like their own unique breed in that sense, to where I don't want to speak for them to where they're not precious about their music. But for me, as a former musician, like I was writing technical post hardcore, like rock music, like that takes time, different time
Yeah.
signatures, weird scales and rhythms and stuff. Like I want to showcase that shit everywhere. You know what I mean? So like I'm very precious about my music. I don't want to keep it to a select group of
Yeah.
people, even behind a paywall. So it's a mindset that you got to put yourself into that I just personally could not do it. It's
For
hard.
your band, like if obviously you're not even in this band anymore, but I think the move would be the Patreon would have like guitar lessons or instrument lessons or guitar tabs or stems or whatever. And then also
Yeah.
behind the scenes, like I know someone else who makes a killing on Patreon and it's only like early access to songs and then exclusive behind the scenes content. And that's all they do. But I think like on your note, you're right. You're never gonna get half your catalog and keep it for Patreon only because those songs take months to make in
Yeah.
many cases.
It's mainly for
Um,
like the, people who are fortunate enough to produce their own stuff, or, it's not intricate music, which, that's subjective, whatever. But I'm just talking for my own, experience. Like we would not have been able to
yeah,
do that. And Dwellings, the band I was in, they do have a Patreon. And I think I don't know how many patrons they have, but I'm not in the band, so I don't really care. But from what I've understood is that they were catering to like the musicians that follow them with like the guitar lessons and behind the scenes and
mhm,
new music and stuff, like unreleased music or like older demos, which that's another thing too that you could do, like songs that were like throwaways or that you just never put out, like whatever, throw them up on a Patreon. But it's just hard to
yeah,
to sustain it too, because like, fuck, I pay for Disney Plus, I pay for Peacock, I pay for this. Like now I gotta pay for an artist. You know what I mean? It just adds up, and
yeah,
the economy, God, like I don't even want to get into all that. So it's, to me, like that's great if you can make money off of it, but maybe focus more on, you guessed it, organic content, and then you can focus on monetizing it later on, whether it is through Patreon or live stream shows, if or going live on TikTok, because that's a huge thing too. There's other ways. It doesn't have to be a recurring paywalled membership thing. Maybe it's
Right.
like a Discord where everyone can join, and you do a live stream in there, and they tip you through like Twitch or something, or Twitch subs or whatever. So I don't know. There's different ways to monetize for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. Well, I think we talked about everything we plan on talking about. Is there anything that you want to tell all the people watching that have hung around over 50 minutes into this episode?
Start posting on social media organically. You'll thank me later. And if you don't know where to start, check out leveler.app.
Actually, I just thought of one more question.
Yeah.
TikTok versus Instagram versus everything else. Like, I've seen a bunch of different perspectives on this. Like, some people are like, it's all about TikTok, nothing else matters. And then I look at a study and it's like, there's like, TikTok's like the fourth most popular social media platform amongst Gen Z. It's like, it's not second, it's not first, it's like fourth. Might have been third, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like a dominant lead. Like, YouTube was destroying it. YouTube was destroying Instagram, and Instagram was destroying TikTok. Like, each had like a 10% lead over the other. Do you think that there's one platform for like most people, or do you think it just kind of depends on each artist, or what?
Yeah. In marketing, like the answer 99% of the time is always it depends. And for me, it kind of always is dependent on the artist. General rule of thumb is just focus on TikTok and Instagram in that order.
Yeah.
But it also depends on your genre. And it's kind of can be seen from both ways, because like I like to use country as an example. Like, most country fans are on Facebook, but that Oliver Anthony guy went viral on TikTok, and then people on Facebook found out about him. And then when you think a couple years back, like he's not country. I don't think I've never listened to this guy, but like Teddy Swims, like he went viral and blew up because of Facebook, posting covers on Facebook, and moms and older people were like gawking over him and sharing him. And yeah, I don't know. It just really depends. You just really have to be available everywhere, and wherever it is that you see the bigger return, like double down on that. Like for me, if you look at my like for my own, business and for what I do, um, I was really big on TikTok as far as like posting there, and I wasn't really repurposing any of my content anywhere else because that's where I was seeing the biggest return. And I kind of put my blinders on, like I didn't really care about Facebook or YouTube or anything. But now I've found, it probably would have been wiser to just have, everything mirrored, because there's an audience for my content everywhere. So I'm trying to be a little bit more responsible for that. I had kids, so like I stopped posting on TikTok a lot, and I kind of dropped the ball in the organic content game. But I'm back now. Kind of had my second kid, so it's not my first rodeo. So I'm just trying to ease all back into it. Hence this podcast. I haven't done a podcast in freaking forever. So yeah, life throws shit at you, but you just gotta respond in an efficient manner. But yeah, just pay attention to the data, and then that's kind of your answer, as far as like where to focus on.
Brilliant advice. Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. All your links will be in the description. So if you haven't heard of Anthony or his Leveler app or Simple, there'll be a link. Maybe we'll just make a link in bio just for this page so you can find all his stuff down below. But yeah, thanks, man.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me on.